bad day last night. For an old friend like you, I'd like to have looked my best. But if only you knew.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, we decided to do a very special 420 edition of the Conversations with Friends, and today I've got the most specialist of guests, the one and only... And yes, that is his last name, actually.
Just the one they gave me. Oh boy, sorry. Gotta turn my volume down. Not a pro.
About, all things 420 like. And, let you guys get to know Ben here a little bit. The putty animal.
Whew, sorry, I was in the double vision there. I had you in two windows.
He's
at
already
two different times.
He's already too stoned to talk to us.
Oh my god.
Ben, this is live stream. The attention span of everybody is sliced into a fraction of a second. We pause to breathe, sneeze, look, or laugh. They're gone.
Full disclosure, I celebrated World Bicycle Day this morning.
Is that today too?
No, it was yesterday, but I give myself a latency period. But I was making a video for Instagram where I took my thyroid medication and I put a drop of Lysergic on it, and I think it's the bottom of the barrel because I'm feeling very I'm in too truthful a mood.
Oh boy, tell me, what is the meaning of life? Oh no, we can't have any silence, Ben. We're all gonna die in silence. So, today's the 420 day, so we're gonna celebrate a little bit. We've got our grown-up little stash boxes. We gotta pull focus there. I've got the joints box. We've both got our own little thing. All kinds of goodies in here. Oh my gosh.
Well, this is the joy of modern cannabis culture, in that when something isn't prohibited, you just end up with an absurd surplus of it.
This is very true. And that also reminds me that YouTube is going to hate this video. If it doesn't get taken down, it's absolutely going to be demonetized. So this is our gift to you, my dear peoples.
While we're at it, then Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. So.
Real quick, before we all pass away into oblivion. What am I going to... Based off of the sage-like wisdom of Mr. Magaziner, we're going to do some vaporing. Duh. I was going to just smoke joints and just blow up the house, but this guy over here.
Vape Bros. This is
Tell me.
Like a Vape Daddy look. You familiar with this one?
Hey, Vape Daddy, tell me why we got to do what we got to do.
Listen, vaping is just we love it. It's good for the lungs. It's not, you don't stink. It's like spirulina, but weed instead. Vape Daddy out.
Vape Daddy ho!
I introduced Vape Daddy at my sister's wedding. It was the first time I tried to work that character. It was a big hit.
Were you trying to meet some ladies? You're like, hey, maybe Vape Daddy would be the way to go with this one.
I was like, yeah. If anything's going to get me to the next level, it's Vape Daddy.
Oh my god, this isn't working. The one thing that is cool about this Vaportron that I got is it's actually flour. I'm not so big on the oil stuff,
What kind of flour are you working with?
One that's not working. It's broken! What do we got? I think they call it a salad. The kids call it salads these days.
Oh, cute.
They're cute. We got a mix of Kind Larry, which I got from one of the homies as a gift.
Shout out, Larry.
A little bit of Harley Sue, which is a high CBD because I don't want to get too plastered because I gotta deal with all the folks.
I'm familiar with Harley Sue.
Oh, and then I don't remember what else. There was just some residue in the grinder. The one thing there's zero organization in this thing. That's where it all. You want to know about someone, you look inside their weed box and realize it looks, the house is clean the house has curb appeal, but once you open that door, dysfunctional family. Yikes.
Behind the curtain, it is a mess.
I'm just saying. Okay, Ben. I think the people are curious. Tell me about the first time that you smoked weed.
The first time that I smoked weed. Great question, by the way. I have a. I think. Well, I feel like I smoked weed like 12 times before I got high. Like I just didn't know how to do it. Um,
No, I think that's a thing. They're like, either yeah, we didn't know how to do it, or you have to like build some kind of reverse tolerance. Does anybody, any doctors in the chat that actually know this mythical bullshit?
yeah, two things. If we have any healthcare professionals in the chat, first of all, thank you during this unprecedented plague. And secondly, we have a completely inconsequential question that we want to ask you about whether or not it's our own incapacity that's not getting us.
And thirdly, what the fuck are you doing watching this stupid shit? Have you got anything else more important to do?
Oh, thank goodness you're here. I'm so glad you're here.
Oh no, that is the angle.
Yeah.
Thank you. So glad, so glad.
Also, as a fan of Everything's Been Done, I love seeing technical difficulties on the show,
Oh,
such as with your grinder.
story of my fucking life, or the with my vape thing. It doesn't
Your vape
fucking.
thing, yeah, excuse me.
I did just drop it right beforehand, which may or may not have had something to do with whatever. So, what? Tell me again. The first time that you, or the 12th time that you smoked weed, and then it actually worked.
Yeah, so 12th time, we had a success. I was at my friend Chad Carmine's house. Shout out Chad. And he had like a sleepover, like you do. And 15, something like that. 15.
Seems
Yeah.
good.
And I got incredibly high. I believe the strain was Alaskan Thunderfuck. Great. I should set the scene a little. Well, it was probably a lie, but you know, in Philadelphia. So this is Philadelphia suburbs, Bucks County, and yeah, this is like 1999, something like that. Yeah, pretty good. We got Y2K coming up. Yeah, yeah. um, I'm in ninth grade. I got my whole life ahead of me. Yeah, so got really high. Watched the Transformers movie, the original animated one. Which, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen this, Optimus Prime dies, and it was really tragic at the time. So I was both laughing and sort of also weeping for this, archetypal hero, you know, uh, yeah. Anyway, and then we woke up in the morning and I introduced myself to Wake and Bake, which was an exciting, yeah, full on bender. And that was a real joy because it's nice to face a day, with some of that alteration. Well, it led me to a sort of logical conclusion of this exploration, which was that I used to get like one of my favorite weed experiments as a younger person was getting really high and then going to the dentist, or like having something that you're like, bear with me, having something that you're like sort of stressed about that you have to do so that you can be incredibly like paranoid beyond regular potential, and then once you finish that thing, which is going to go fine, but like once you finish it, you have this wide open day ahead of you where no one's going to be drilling your mouth or yes. Yeah. What? No. Once you've there's something heroic about climbing double horrible and like coming out unscathed or coming out minimally scathed, let's say. Light on me. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah, a wiser man than I, Dustin, you are. So, I'm just giving you the full court bend press. I think it's in the tradition of my people, the Ashkenazi Jews, like we're like, is this bad? Let's make it worse, or somebody's gonna make it worse. They can't do it. It was my choice. Whew. I didn't know. I'm still deciding on which strain to go with. I've got Can Essentials Sour Diesel Classic. What else do we have here? We've garlic mince. I don't think we're gonna do that. I think I'm gonna go with.
Oh no, really? They can't hear me? Why? Check. Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Have you been muted the whole time?
Potentially, yeah. Oh man, well, good thing it's called livestream fails. I don't understand why you wouldn't be. Well, Ben, why don't you just talk for us for a second?
Hey guys, it's me, Ben. This is my stream.
This is welcome to
I'm joined by my guest Dustin Klein.
Eventually.
Yeah, you guys know him from your favorite weekly video podcast, Everything's Been Done. What could possibly go wrong?
I got a couple ideas. No, I think that's bullshit. You're back. You're back. Hey, I did it. I don't know what I did. There's nothing. The fucking live stream fails. 100% OBS. No one knows what that means, but Jesus criminy. Like, I'm not doing nothing and it's freaking out.
Is it a bunch of people or just one person in the chat?
There's more than zero. I mean, zero's a number though. Zero's a number, right? So that Stony Baloney over here is watching the stream on mute, and he's like, and then my dumbass is like, "Oh, it's all freaking. We gotta like." Ah! I would have shooken the real camera, but I don't know how. I mean, yeah. Live stream fails. Par for the course.
I gotta get this chat up here. Excuse me for a second.
So okay, here's a little bit of, I don't even know what to call it. Here's just say it. So, we're just going to, okay, So one of the things that I somehow stumbled across this little bit of knowledge is when you smoke things, it lowers, I think it's your blood pressure, and it makes you cold. If anyone's ever done this, like,
oh yeah,
ever noticed this, you'll be like, oh, I'm cold all of a sudden. It's like, yeah, because he just fucking smoked something. And that just happened. I got hit hard, and I'm like, I need a shawl. I'm looking around my space for like, here, I'll just wear this scrap fleece. Help! I'm fucking freezing over here. Oh,
it's a cute look, actually. I like that.
Thanks. I'm dying. I came all the way down to the basement with no fleece, wait, this is fleece. I'm lying. With no hoodie. It's just my arms. I feel like my grandmother all of a sudden. It's too cold.
That's one of my first date questions is, do you sweat up the bed? You know this one? If anybody's out there in the chat and you sweat up the bed, I want to see, press F in the chat.
Hold on, I gotta figure out how to chat and stay upright all at the same time. Okay, yeah. so why? What's that got to do with what's the love got to do with it?
I mean, I run warm. I'm a no blanket guy, So you just got to do the math. Like two toaster ovens.
You're like, cool. We are incompatible. I'm glad we met. You got your half a dinner. Good night.
Yeah.
You know what? We should have done the outfits or costume changes. Costumes seems like it demeans it in some silly way.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I should have had some outfits planned.
Well, there is an outfit. We could see how blue screen Tinder. What kind of strain does blue screen Tinder?
Oh boy, man, hold on a second. Oh, you thought? Yeah, listen, I got double protection for all this screen time. Shout out everybody in the chat that's doing 14 hours a day on their screens. That's doing 16 hours a day on the streams. I know you're out there. Let me see some more F's in the chat.
F in it, F bomb.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh, Ben's back. Welcome back, Ben. Okay, so I'll take this as an opportunity. Thank you for asking. The first time I smoked weed...
Absolutely, yeah. I was just going to get to that.
I remember it fondly. You know what? I might as well hit this Cloud 5, not a sponsor. But hey, we're open to anything. For the love of Christ. And I say that, and then you know what happens? So when you do a YouTube channel of any capacity, you get bombarded with crappy companies from China. Not that all companies from China are crappy, but that sell shit on Amazon that want you to promote their crap. So we're gonna get, goddamn, I just took the longest winded way to get to this.
You're good.
Should we call it a punchline?
We love it, Dustin.
We're gonna just get hit up by the AliExpress vapor stick from. They'll be like, "Oh, please endorse good super vapor stick. You will love it." I'll be like, "Okay," and then it runs off of like an R battery, and you can't find it, and it doesn't really work. It gets too hot to hold, and you're like.
I've been spending a lot of time on Alibaba.com. Do you spend much time looking for strange businesses to start? Like looking for some sort of open mold?
Yeah.
You know.
Open mode, easy money, enter. What do we got here? We got some flip-flops. We got some...
exactly. That's what I was looking at today.
We got some nose and eye comedy costumes from the 50s. Okay, maybe those will make a comeback. Okay, so the first time,
thank you.
Little Dusty boy smoked some cannabis. It was a dark and stormy night. We were the setting, Fargo, North Dakota. Ben's gonna work over the chat real quick while I take 45 minutes to explain the story.
Shout out Fargo.
Thank you, Cloud 5. Where were we? It was winter, Fargo, North Dakota. I'm shitty with years and dates, so we'll say 90 something. 3, 2, and winter. It might have been a school night, honestly. And it was night, hence school night. Got all the buddies together, and for some dumb reason, we thought, hey, let's go to this sketchy spot and throw snowballs at cars. And we're like, yeah, perfect. Cool. And then first thing, so one of them's like, hey, I got some weed. There was like 4 or 5 of us. They're like, yeah, let's, the room's divided. Half of them are like, yeah, let's do it. The other half are like, ah. And then there's little Dustin. He's on the fence. He's like, I don't know. I just kind of maybe. And then I smell it. And I was like, oh, shit. I know that smell. That reminds me of my dad. And my whole concept of reality folded inside and outside of itself, just like Inception. And I thought, okay, I'm in. Fuck it. Let's do this. Got super fucking high. It worked. Yeah. Woo. I don't...
Oh, you're a first timer, huh?
I think, well, this was the first time I remember getting high. So I don't know if I like fake puffed before that or whatever. I don't know. So just blasted. Oh, and then probably I ruined the climax of the story. And then we decided, oh, you know what we should do now is throw snowballs at cars. It's so fucking stupid. We had a really good spot though. It was between 2 really skinny buildings. And then, technicals. And then between 2 skinny buildings. And it was great because the cars would pass. You could hear the cars. You'd be like, now. And we got our timing down real good. And there was this funny like outway between the 2 buildings. And we got, you play that game enough, like you get that person that's down to fight. So
Yeah.
we hit that person, we found him, and they pull up. No, I don't think they pulled it. They're just like turned around. You get, and they went down the side and we're like freaking out. So we took our little back alley entrance and hopped down into this hidden thing that like the trucks will back up to there. So it's a sunken ground.
Yeah.
Shitty description.
And
And
like an industrial park loading dock kind of
loading dog.
Yeah.
There's a word for everything. And then we were hiding under there, and I remember smacking my knee on the cement of that thing so goddamn hard, and being like, I can't run. Like, please God, don't let this person find us. I can't run.
Leave me, save yourselves.
So yeah, no, don't leave me. Help me. And I don't know. That's where my memory sputters out in the sunset. But that was it. We didn't get caught. I think they got sick of looking for us and they like moved on. But man, what a funny, awesome experience that was. Holy cow.
There's something like really important in some of that like fairly innocent mischief stuff. Like granted, some of that can go, like my friends and I used to have a word for it, like when we would either get high or eat mushrooms as younger people. And it was we referred to it as rascalism, which was basically like if you would get high in a certain way or just feel like goofy on, say, a small dose of mushrooms, you would kind of turn into like the spirit of rascalism, which was basically like, I think it's kind of the same thing that they talk about in like the electric Kool-Aid acid test, like the merry pranksters, sort of like this like spirit of like, have you ever read that book?
No.
I'll spare the details then.
Electric Kool-Aid? Is that what it's called? Electric Kool-Aid?
Electric Kool-Aid acid test. Yeah.
I'm taking notes.
It's good. Yeah. Anyway, something just about like fairly benign, like mischief that comes from some of this stuff, especially when like you kind of like, I see it also in the spirit of like street skating, where you're doing something that's like getting in the way of the world, it's like a pretty like gentle resistance. I think it's actually where like a lot of the fun of the experience comes from. And also like to take it to another conclusion is like the stigma that comes with it. Like I remember early cannabis experiences for me, it was 75% of it was like, oh my God, my mom would be so bombed at me right now, and basically just like navigating that, which you're just going like, it's okay. Oh my God, my mom is so sad right now. Which was like when that went away, actually, I almost missed it because it like elevates the experience where you're like, I'm doing something risky. Like, oh God. Yeah.
You're just like, fuck it. I'll jump off of this.
Right. I mean, there's some of that stuff, like especially with the context for skating, where there's almost like a heroic component too, and like doing something where you're challenging yourself. Like that's something that I find interesting in some of like skate and bike culture, where you get to see people. This is an aside, but one of the things I love about some of my favorite skaters is when they reach a point in their skate career where they obviously start smoking weed and they do things that are a little bit like more foolish, but their skating just becomes like weird and creative. I think we have cannabis to thank for that in a lot of cases.
Then you start going down the road of like, what's it done for music? Or it is definitely a creativity like fire starter. To the point where when I smoke cannabis or consume cannabis, I'll get like, it's like going down the freeway with no windshield of just like ideas and like things you want to accomplish. And you're just like blasted in the face. And you're like crippled by the overwhelming amount of input of like inspiration, ideas. You're just like, I don't know what to do. Like, fuck. So I think that, I guess maybe the hook is to kind of just, take notes.
I think something that made me think of was like when I felt comfortable like adopting it in creative process. there was also a period of time where like I felt like I didn't trust my habitual mind, like my sort of sober mind. Like if I saw a movie or if I listened to music or even if I like bought a new shirt or something, I would always, I'd have this little switch like,
Whoa.
can you really trust your sensibility right now? Because you're not high at the moment. Yeah, this might be maybe too deep a dive into my sensibility. But there was a period of time where it was like, was that movie actually good? Because I didn't see it, you know, while I was stoned, or I didn't play that song while I was actually stoned.
That is fucking fascinating. I really like this. So I would tend to be on the opposite side of that. The like, and I bet this is partly, I grew up with my mom was in AA her whole life. Well, my whole life, not her. What? She was in AA my whole life. Nobody, it was like dry house, no nothing. So, and then, you know, you grow up and you're like, dare, drugs are bad, your brain fried egg. Like, so I think I got a certain amount of, a little bit, like a massive amount of like social brainwashing that like drugs are bad. So then when you're on drugs too, when you're on cannabis or something, it's like, oh, you can't trust it. So yeah, like how did you get to the point of not only just trusting that, but thinking that essentially what it sounds like is that was more reality than sober reality, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I think like for a period of time that became a dominant force, and eventually I think two things occur. One, like that probably runs you into some failures at some point. You're like, oh, that shirt, that like drug rug that I bought was like a mistake, you know?
What,
you know?
Is this? I don't know anything about drug rugs. I like the name though.
I do feel like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those hoodies that's like made of like, okay, cool.
No, go on. Keep going.
I think there's something that like integration kind of hopefully occurs with some of this stuff, you know, where like you want to feel like the experience tells you something, or like there's a message in it. Like, I mean, generalities for cannabis for me were like, be gentler, be more sensitive, be more open. And like, at a certain point, I think you don't need to be smashed over the head with that lesson. Alan Watts has a quote about psychedelics in general on this point, which is a little bit more specific, but he says, with regards to psychedelics, once you get the message, hang up the phone, meaning that like, you don't need to go back and just like listen to the message over and over and over again,
I like, you know,
or like keep picking at the wound. You kind of like hopefully draw something from it, and like, you know, bring that into waking reality rather than constantly having to escape reality.
Okay. I got a question.
Please, Dustin.
Oh, thank you. So love that concept. Although in my practice, through my experience, it's maybe I'm just like too stupid. I'll get the experience and I'll be like, oh, that's it. Be nice to people. We're all one love and one life. Cool. And then over time, it fades away. And it disappears and you kind of forget and you just go back into the normal blah, 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 blah. So for me, like, I don't want to say have to, but I kind of have to go back, or I want to go back to kind of like bring that memory back to surface. Like it for me, it's not an on and off switch. It's like you like, oh, you realize, it's a realization. And then that realization kind of disappears a little bit. Yeah. And you're like, oh, fuck, what was the point of all of this? And so, I don't know. That's I put the ball back in your court, Magaziner.
I think it depends on the substance too. You know, like there are some, cannabis is pretty forgiving in this regard. Like I've had experiences with more, my neighbor drives around with 2 Confederate flags on the back of his fucking Chevy Cavalier and then proceeds to listen to like Earth, Wind and Fire every day blasting out of his car. And I'm like, do you not see the fucking contradiction here, you idiots? Anyway, I think, some things have a more firm message, like things in the DMT family, entheogens. Whereas cannabis, I feel like it's pretty agreeable. Like you can fit it uh, uh, into your day-to-day life in a way that like uh, the message isn't so severe that you need to like put it down. And maybe you can kind of like, like a small puff here, whatever. I think edibles are also an interesting distinction here because the edible has kind of like, edible presents a threshold that many of us have experienced where you're like, oh, I ate too much and I only had a tiny little piece of that brownie and I was destroyed for, 36 hours. Um, so yeah, anyway, I'm kind of rambling around this point.
So are you saying with cannabis, you think of it as like there's messages that are you think of it as an access to a message?
I guess kind of generally, yeah. Or I guess I think about that with regards to like chemical alteration or alteration of the mind via substances in any way.
But okay, so then I would say actually along that concept or idea is that I think that totally there are messages there, but I think that it's up to the individual to what I would think is for them to be looking for those messages. Like I don't think you just get stoned and you're like, cool.
Oh, totally.
I know I know how it all works now.
Right.
But then I don't know, like I guess I'd never thought of it in like the message. I think of like psilocybin more as like a message type of experience.
Definitely.
And then cannabis is just more of like I just love how it just shifts things just a little bit. And I mean, for any artist, that's the best thing because you're suddenly able to see with fresh eyes, essentially. Which is
actually, you just made me remember a really significant early cannabis experience for me, which was like one of the things that provided me was like I really noticed that my life was kind of a steady stream of like, good, bad, good, hard, easy. And cannabis was definitely like a third point of observation where you could be more objective over like, like there, without that point, that third observation point, it's like, down feels really hard and good feels unbelievable. And you can't, and even like, have you ever had this experience? It's like the end of winter and it's like right now, like cherry blossoms are blooming. It's like, you can feel sort of like life being reinvigorated on the planet. Yet it's sort of like imbued with a little bit of depression because you're like, oh, I know winter's going to come again. You have this, this is again too deep a dive into me, but cannabis was definitely, I think, functions as a third point or can function as a third point of objectivity where it's like, there isn't that much difference between, things along this continuum. And until you produce a little bit of distinction from that, it's hard not to just get caught up in the kind of tide of like, my life's good, my life's bad. Yeah.
Wait, okay, I might be just a little too stoned. It's cannabis. You see it as a third point between who's on first?
Well, it's like what you described as a way to be objective. That's kind of what I was thinking. A way I was thinking of looking at it, where you're like, oh, here's a bit of a shift on how I see things, and suddenly like the commonplace of my life, the sort of like the emotional tide of just going through things. It's a little bit easier to observe when you're like, why am I feeling sad? Or why am I feeling elated? Or, like who's driving the ship a little bit.
So for for you, it kind of like it sounds like it's just a perspective tool. It's a way to kind of okay, totally. We are in agreement on the perspective. I had another idea, but then I got stoned like 20 minutes ago and I forgot it. I'm just gonna keep using that excuse too. Now I've completely derailed from. Oh boy.
One of the other things we were talking about earlier was like current, like cannabis as a commodity these days, and the sort of like some of us have the experience of it being recreational now. Many states have it medical. I have a certain perspective on this in that I worked in the Oregon cannabis industry significantly since like 2014. Though, shout out anybody in the chat. I don't have a job anymore, so if you got work, I'm looking for
Hey, we got to get Ben a job. We got to do an
Chris.
ASA stat. So anybody that knows how to get money to Ben, we are listening. Lines are open. And back to you, Ben. This is a Ben drive, the Ben Pledge drive. So if anybody would like to donate to the Ben chat.
Ooh. And that's so. Anyway.
Oh, too much? We poured it on a little.
It's good.
Too heavy.
This guy just started to kick it a little bit. But what I was thinking about along these lines was that how my experience has changed when cannabis is what's it called when something is, God, I'm high. What was alcohol? How was alcohol treated in the 20s?
Probation.
Prohibition. Thank you so much.
No, detention.
Right. When something is prohibited, I think there's a certain way that you treat that substance versus when that substance becomes commodified a little bit. So I have tended to have found my experience with cannabis more eye-opening when I, say, lived on the East Coast, and it felt more countercultural versus my experience, say, in Oregon, where it's become dominant cultural and also like a cash crop. So I don't have answers on this, but I have questions about it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. There's like a certain amount of like when stuff's illegal, it's just kind of like cool, and then when it gets normal, it's like, well. But I think a bigger picture, it's way better for cannabis to be normalized.
Oh my God, yeah.
That like for cannabis to take over like Budweiser, for like a weird example, so much healthier for everything, so many things, planet, people, fucking. I don't know any other ones.
Well, just knowing what it is, like having some sort of like supply line chain. Like we were describing earlier, like when you asked how I knew like what the strain was the first time I smoked weed.
Oh yeah, it's so
I have no idea what, it was like somebody's brother said it was this and he got it from some other guy, and who fucking knows where it came from. It's probably all like cartel weed grown on like illegal land somewhere with tons of pesticides on it.
That reminds me of a funny story not that long ago. When I went to Italy last, around February, I ate an edible on the flight home. Well, on all international flights, edible, it's so awesome because you're just stuck in one place. Go, like, if you think you're good at like 25, go to 30, 35, like, just push that. It's amazing. So I did that and I thought, oh, TikTok, I want to play with TikTok. So I ate a 25 milligram chocolate that I actually got from you. It was a Toroma. And ate it, did this little video, whatever. And the video like got like a little bit of steam, not viral, but it got like a decent amount of traction. And the comments were fascinating. So many of them were like 25 milligrams, that's nothing. Or like 25 milligrams is like bullshit. I do 500. Right. And I was like, what? Like, how is this? And my buddy Ben was saying that on the East Coast, a lot of, because it's still black market there, people will lie and they'll just be like, this is 100 milligrams. Yeah, this is the strongest shit. This is 200 milligrams. So it's because it's unregulated, it's highly falsified. And I just thought it was so fascinating because I was like, yo, you can't eat 500 milligrams unless you're like a terminally ill, like high tolerance cancer patient. It's not going to work. I feel very much like a lightweight in this regard. Like I've been eating edibles for a long time and still like I eat like 5 to 10 milligrams and I'm cooked. But commonly people talk about this, like, the ability to eat 100 milligrams, 200 milligrams, 500 milligrams. And I'm just like, I have no. Whoa.
Yeah.
So maybe they're right. And I'm just a fucking lightweight, which I'm totally fine with. Like I'm the number I don't care about. It's the experience. Like,
Well, there's also, I mean, it's not isolated to the East Coast where things aren't regulated, or it's not isolated to other places where there isn't regulation, because there are distinctions within regulated markets, like say in Oregon, like the company, like Torama, which was a company that I worked for, prided itself in using like full spectrum extracts. So this would be something like Rick Simpson oil, which is basically like an essential oil of cannabis. And just to give you an idea, I won't drag on this point too long. There are like vastly different ways of processing cannabis within the industry, and not a clear sense, even in a state like Oregon, which prides itself on kind of craft production, on like how and why lots of this, like distillate is a way that cannabis concentrate is commonly produced. And this can be basically like a collection of tons of different sources of scrap cannabis, and that can contain pesticides, mold, all sorts of things that you don't want. But the way that distillate is processed at high temperatures, and in a specific way, pesticides don't show up, mold doesn't show up, and just the cannabinoids that you want show up.
oh,
So basically that's how you can get like super high THC, no CBD, or you can engineer this in a way that you want it, versus say making things like the logical imperative on the other side of that would be like making old school hash, or making old school like Rick Simpson oil, something like that.
What's Rick Simpson oil?
Rick Simpson oil is basically just like an alcohol-based essential oil of cannabis. So much like a tincture. The like an obvious distinction between say distillate and Rick Simpson oil in this context is that you get a wide range of cannabinoids, even ones that aren't, like dozens of them basically show up
In the distillate.
in the Rick Simpson oil. And distillate, you
Oh.
just get the ones that you engineer it to demonstrate, basically.
Okay.
It doesn't make it inherently bad, but if your focus is on things outside of just like how fucked up can I get for the smallest amount of money,
Right.
Or like what was the agriculture that helped produce this cannabis, and where did it come from, and how are those people, and how does it taste?
Terpenes then sound like they play into it. Like terpenes would be more with Rick, and then not so much with the distillate.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But of course, they're doing it in reverse engineering too, where they add terpenes back in later.
We can get purple flavor?
You can get that perp, dog.
Shit. What about blueberry? Do they have raspberry?
Whatever you want.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. So,
we got raspberry.
Maybe
we got creamsicle.
That's what I'm sold. So wait, what is... I feel like I don't quite know what this means. What does full spectrum mean?
So full spectrum would basically be a wide spectrum of cannabinoids and terpenoid content that would be present in the plant. Many of these... Go on.
How do I say this? Does any plant that's grown, say, kind Larry, that strain's grown, is there a spectrum of different cannabinoids in that, like in any plant? So like, does every plant have this like number of slots of cannabinoids and terpenes?
Generally, yeah, within a range, right? Like not every strain is the same.
Totally, which makes sense. But it's like a range on like a rainbow. You're like, oh, this is like green to whatever the fuck to purple or whatever. Like you maybe won't get all of it, but you could get like a decent amount.
Yes.
Or a range. Okay, so it's just holding that range is the full spectrum. Is that true? It sounds like a partial spectrum. After my rainbow analogy.
I guess it's more like a distribution, because it's like, anyway, I won't.
Are we talking out of school? We don't have to, because we'll sound dumber than hell if we... In fact, let's keep going.
No, let's just barrel this one into the wall. I'm into it.
I'm fine with that.
But like our friend HPESOJ in the chat, that's Joseph backwards. Boom, gotcha.
Ooh,
there's such a thing as the entourage effect, which is the effect of the presence of more cannabinoids basically helping you assimilate more cannabinoids. So it's like I've had this experience where I'll eat like I'll eat a full spectrum edible, and I'll have I'll have I don't know, say 5 milligrams of THC, and then I'll decide to maybe have 5 milligrams of CBD of a different full spectrum source, and suddenly I am just like,
Oh, really?
I'm staying home, like I'm not I'm not talking to anybody.
Really?
I'm putting on planet Earth, and I'm just like, I'm letting this one ride out. Yeah.
So, would the same thing be true then with just two different strains, like mixing two strains?
I mean, I think it would suggest the same thing, but again, this idea of full spectrum, right, is like a wilder, natural. I use that word very loosely and hesitantly, but yeah, you're looking at some wilder, less engineered things rather than like, the process of making, say, a distillate where they're like, I want this to be the highest percentage of THC I can possibly demonstrate because that's what sells on the shelf. Versus some of this idea that like maybe you'll get a lower level of THC that's present on the package, but you have like another dozen like curious non-tested cannabinoids within the current market.
And that totally, like, it's CBN Alex mentioned, and I've heard there's like up to 30 some different cannabinoids that we know of at this point. What's the fucking deal? What the hell is everybody waiting for? Because I feel like any one of those could be the next CBD craze, CBD fucking air. Oh, I love it.
A lot of it is our current point of sale system, to my sensibility, within the market. Is like people are struggling. Shops are struggling to figure out how to sell these things to consumers.
The different cannabinoids.
I mean, just the products in general. I mean, there's lots of lots of people that
weed will sell itself.
It will, but let's say if we're looking at it from like a craft. So like, I think weed is struggling. Weed as an industry is struggling to produce like the craft beer component of it. Like,
fascinating.
Weed's getting better at selling like Vladimir vodka and like what's a piss beer example? Like
Budweiser.
Right, sure. They're getting good. Like, shout out Budweiser. We'd love to have you as a sponsor.
Yeah, yeah.
The show.
And then
also, your beer tastes like piss, and
exactly.
Go fuck yourself. But yeah, I think like the industry is becoming at least competent at selling these commodity versions of it. But the sort of craft beer, like IPA, like weed enthusiasts, the market is a little bit more speculative, and I think people are still, going. They still have other ways of getting these things or growing it themselves, and like you can probably attest to, much like you did in your post earlier. And that's actually something I sort of admire about the Oregonian spirit. There's still, and the Portland spirit, there's such a DIY sensibility around people with food and commodity.
It seems to me like people would be way interested in discovering all the different, because I think CBD kind of opened the door. It was like CBD, the miracle thing, and I've grown high CBD plants. I consume it all the time, and I'm still like, I don't fucking know. Like, it's so over marketed that I kind of hate it. Even though I still consume it, I'll never buy that shit because it's too like. It's like I kind of don't trust any of it now. You're like, snake oil.
Oh, hugely.
But tangent, I think that because of that, it's like, yo, like, let's, these other cannabinoids, like, fucking make something up. This one makes your dick hard. This one makes you see through walls. Fucking CBR. Who wants to fly?
Well, they're looking at like,
what do they do?
There's companies that are making CBD out of like molecularly altered citrus and lichen, like which is like really playing jazz with like the notion of with the sources of this stuff, and it becomes a lot. It doesn't have anything to do with like cannabis or hemp industry. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, that's one of the things I appreciate about the like recreational market is that at least there's some system for testing this stuff, because there's no system for testing CBD products that you buy in the grocery store, or CBD products that like your fucking favorite Instagram celebrity is selling you.
Totally.
There's just no infrastructure or administration that's confirming these things. And also, like, how do you feel about eating something that's produced with like industrial hemp from China? Like, you know,
I don't know. It sounds bad, but maybe that's just me being brainwashed by everything, by all those Amazon people that are hitting me up.
right. No, it's a reasonable perspective, but I also think it's a decent question to ask. And I think many of us would prefer you know, something where we have a sense of what the hell it is. Or, like, here's a great example. My experience with cannabis has been like, made me more sensitive, made me more curious about what I'm putting in my body, encouraged me to eat. I've had a reverse experience on the sort of like munchies, uh, kind of archetypal cannabis experience. For me, it was like, oh, I'm high. What am I eating? It should be healthy. I should nourish myself, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Um, and there seems to be almost a reverse experience, both on the cannabis and the hemp CBD front, right there, where it's like, I guess I'm wrong, but I thought that those industries would have a similar sensibility where they're like, we want sincere, well-engineered, healthy products. And actually, it's like, no, we're making Vladimir vodka and Budweiser beer.
Yeah, I mean that's like the that's like a byproduct of capitalism. But
It's true, yeah.
it doesn't always have to be that way. I think beer is cool because it shows like, look at all the craft beer things. Like,
Exactly.
overwhelming when you go to the grocery store. You're like, fuck, dude, I need a stool and like an hour and a half because I gotta fucking figure this out.
Give me a minute.
Give me a minute. Hey, you guys got anywhere I could sit down? There's a lot of labels and they're all so goddamn delicious looking. God, I want all of them. Have you had any cannabis on our cannabis episode?
I just started to get into it, and also I realized that I was on a little bit of acid. So,
Oh,
I mean, should I
yeah.
just do? I should probably do a ceremonial puff here.
I mean, peer pressure.
So as I said, we're going with Pinkleberry Kush.
Oh,
I believe this is from
Fast
Green
one.
Source Gardens, one of my favorite Oregon growers.
fast
Check them
name.
out. I'm using the PAX vaporizer.
Look
Shout
at
out
this.
PAX.
Wow,
Yeah, PAX, we'd love to have your support on the show.
it's true.
They'll
They'll never see this.
You're not going to see this, but we're out of work and we're waiting for our unemployment checks, or at least I am, and I'm about to default on my mortgage. So,
So here's to you. Oh, how's it taste like? Burbleberry.
this is good. Also, here's a notice of delinquency. If you can read backwards on my health plan.
we got it on your healthcare.
Yeah. So shout out Providence. If you want to sponsor the show, I'm available.
Cover our weed bill. We got to cover our mortgage bill. We got to cover our healthcare bill. Shit
Yeah,
is
no.
real.
I'd love money on any front.
So Budweiser, we're just saying, we'll talk less shit on you if you sponsor the.
Budweiser, we're gaslighting the fuck out of you on this show, but we'll take your money and we'll ease up. This is like a mafia shakedown.
Wait, so what are some of your, like, how in like an average week, like how will you use cannabis during that week? Like what will you, is it just all the time every day? Is it certain activities? What do you got?
Oh, it sounds like I might have got muted. Can you guys hear me in the chat? If you can hear me in the chat, press F or type Providence Health Plan.
Oh, there you go. Why F? What is the F bomb?
It's a thing people do. I think it happens on like Twitch. People do it on Twitch a lot. Yeah.
Here's to our demonetization.
Hey, shout out.
Keeping it real. Oh, you hear that? the sweet crispal crusple of that fine homegrown cannabis burning in a synthetic valve.
You're not just being removed from the algorithm and having your videos never seen. Shout out Permasleep. Shout out Dominic Walker in the chat. Shout out Victory. Wow, yeah, coming through. Okay, so your question: How often do I consume
Well,
cannabis?
not even. Yeah, how often? But how? Like, what do you like? How do you like to incorporate it into your life?
Generally, edibles at this point.
Okay, that makes sense.
I just got high.
Sorry about
I love
that.
edibles because they draw out the experience across time. And
well, I call it the slow ascension.
I love
you just
the
like
slow
take
ascension.
off and you're like, oh shit, we're like 1,000 feet right now.
Yeah, it's the Godspeed song of of cannabis experience. Nice slow burn.
I like that. Yeah.
And before physical things, I love before a bike ride, before strength training, before going skating. Full disclosure, edibles before like a romantic experience, like thumbs up. Sorry, Mom, if you're in the chat.
She's not. Nobody's watching. Nobody.
I love your mom.
What?
I was just saying I love my mom.
Very quick transition between those two subjects.
Yeah, no, I'm too close. Robin is asking, did I address the bicycle in the background? Which I did intentionally. Surprise. It's a map bicycle made by Mitch Pryor here in Portland in 2011.
Oh, here we go. We got it. This little nugget of knowledge I think is so awesome. I don't even know of like a clever way to set this up. But how the Ryan's green bike was your bike.
That's correct, yeah.
That's so fucking cool. And how long did you ride it, and then how long did he ride it?
I'll tell you the whole story. So we're referring to a beautiful green Italian racing bike, the Legnano, that Ryan Francisconi has made famous because he's an absolute fucking beast.
He is a beast.
Of an athlete.
And it has been in a bunch of the Everything's Been Done videos too.
Yeah.
All the bikes he's ridden though are green, so it's the old one from like the 70s.
Yeah, it's a 73 Legnano Gran Premio. And I bought this from, I can't remember his last name, but there's a guy named Larry who used to work at the Recyclery, which was a great bike shop in Portland in like the 2008 era.
Okay.
And Larry was a former racer and had like classic lightweight era, late 70s, full campy bikes.
Oh, wow.
That were just like I showed up in Portland with my old, like late 70s Bianchi track bike. And
sick.
I rolled into the Recyclery and I was like, oh, I want some gears. And there was like old Bianchis, old
oh man.
What's the brand? Poosh, I think. It was like not Peugeot, it's like 4 letters.
Yeah,
German.
I know what you're saying. I don't know. But
anyway,
just like vintage shit, the cool stuff.
Yeah, beautiful late 70s vintage stuff, campy and campy super record stuff.
Yeah, so like vintage, like nice vintage, because there's also a shitload of old, which is not vintage, shit vintage.
Right, correct. Anyway, I bought this bike from Larry, and then I rode it.
Joseph wants to know if Larry was good at sending it.
Shout out Larry. I think Larry was actually really good at sending it, from what I understand.
Just
a monster.
I feel this, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the strain you said that you
saw? Well, now I can't find it. Kind Larry.
Larry. We're bringing it. See that?
Today's show is sponsored by Anheuser Kind Larry.
Kind Larry.
It's sponsored by Kind Larry's Bush. It's a new hybrid. Anyways,
so I bought it from Larry. I rode it in Seattle to Portland, and then I sold it to Ryan because he wanted. I actually traded it. Initially, I traded it to Ryan for music lessons that I never ended up getting. He was just like, "I don't feel like doing this. I'm just gonna give you cash," and I was like, "Cool."
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
So you just had it for like maybe like a year or something.
No, I had it for like 4 or 5 years. I rode it a lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And then he rode the shit out of it. Like, I think he's broken it and had it repaired, maybe something like
Yeah,
that.
I think he broke the frame and just put it back together.
Yeah, which happens with old bikes. I've
Yeah.
seen it. I've done it. Like, it's just steel kind of dies after a while.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of cool. It's like alive in a certain weird kind of molecular way.
Well, yeah, that's like the steel experience. Shout out Big L. Big L, rest in peace.
Shout out Steel. All dead Steel, rest in peace.
Shout out dead steel bikes rotting in a pile somewhere.
Turned into wind chimes and yard art.
Oh,
We
man.
love you. As I tip the audio scales up to the red. Get out of the red.
We're peaking.
You might actually be peaking. I'm peaking. You know, the secret to this week's success is the high CBD in the equation. You know, one thing I kind of poo-poo on CBD there for a minute. I don't mean I love you, CBD. But one thing I have had good results with is if you are too high on THC, have some CBD, whether you eat it or smoke it. It will bring you back down. And it is so nice to be able to do that. Because sometimes you are clawing at the walls just like, I can't make ends of this. Yeah, CBD. CBD brings the up back to the down.
I've never tried this, the technique that you're describing. So somebody told me that I was supposed to eat peppercorns. I tried this one time. The peppercorns.
Oh, that
supposedly...
sounds disgusting.
Yeah, it is, and it doesn't work. So
they're like, they just do that to fuck with other friends. They're like, oh, you're getting too high? You need to eat fucking garbage. Have you tried that?
yeah, you know what you should do is just like drink a bottle of vanilla extract. I'm told that'll fix you.
Well, then you'll just get drunk.
You just get wasted.
You know what else really works though? Real talk is urinal pucks. If you're too high, you got to eat one of those.
Oh yeah, shout out Urinal Pucks. We'd love to have you as a sponsor of the show.
Just come on, bring it. All kinds. We don't care what your shape, your flavor is. Used, news. We're here for you.
You're delicious. We love you.
Let's hear the promo for it. We'll take it to Ben and the promo for the urinal pucks.
Hey guys, are you tired of regular snacks? Have you considered just chewing on a urinal puck? Imagine the faces you'll make with a urinal cake in your mouth. Check us out.
Use offer code urinal cake 75-29 for 75% off your first order.
Use offer code boobs for 20% off.
So good. Yes. Yeah. How do you transition from something like that though? I mean, good God. Oh, here we go.
I can't actually. I don't think I can be.
Oh, he's off of it. Well, if we get too much lull time, we'll lose all 4 of our last 3 viewers.
Oh man, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Hey, maybe that's a good time for Tinder Tommy to say. We're gonna take it. Okay.
Hey guys, it's Tinder Tommy. I'm back. We know we're tired.
Tommy, how you been doing these last couple of over this pandemic here? It's been kind of a crazy one, huh?
It's been a crazy one. People are ready. I've got these glasses on because my blue light eyesight is just destroyed. I'm hunched over. I can't see more than 6 inches in front of my face, but I am available for romantic partnership. I do my dishes and I can
fold most of his laundry.
Dishes.
Yeah, 1 out of 10 ain't bad.
I don't want to oversell it, but I am constantly depressed, and you're gonna have to deal with that. Shout out Zach, I love you in the chat too. If you've got a sister or whatever,
or a drunk brother,
or a drunk brother, I'm totally desperate and haven't touched another human for 8 to 12 weeks. So
anything we can do. Ladies and gentlemen, we are trying to get as many human contact pledges as we can for Tommy. Tommy's had one hell of a time during this pandemic. It's a pandemic of no touching pandemic. Although pandemic, we're half touching and we're half not touching. I come on so strong that when it ends, everyone's just like, now what? Well, if oh.
Wow, I am blushing.
He's flushing.
Yeah.
Where's Earl? You know what's hilarious about that is Earl almost made it, but I couldn't run it, or we didn't work. like I'm embarrassed to admit that I'm him. Like, oh, I don't want to blow up the spot. Jesus.
Would have got away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids.
All the mystery. I should have grabbed the goddamn glasses. There's I don't know, camo juice.
I think that's good. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about? Or any final remarks?
So many things. Oh my God. No, I just, for real talk, I really wanted to have one of these conversations with Ben, and this will not be the last one, ladies and gentlemen. So be prepared. Maybe we can even home to put his camera in and potentially lose the microphone because it's a little too clear, just a little.
You want to like DIY me a little bit?
A little bit more, yeah.
Okay. It was a big deal. I dug it out from the garage and plugged it in and everything.
Your computer? I don't know. What's this? This thing ought to do it. Fuck it. Here, we'll just.
I got this shout out Audio Technica, because it's not a urinal cake, but it is a thing in physical space.
It's true. So it's got that going for it. Although the theme of this episode was more things that aren't of physical space.
That was good. Because
send it over to you with the sign off for the with all the CTA or the call to actions, and you could throw in a sponsor if you like. Are you cool with that?
So this is like a plug for me? Is that what you're saying?
We're gonna how can people find you? But then
what's
also
a CTA?
Call to action.
No, but like generally, what does that mean?
Oh my God, how embarrassing! We're gonna explain it in front of the one person that's not watching. Do the sign off with like, hey, like and subscribe and do.
I'm
but
idiot.
in your way, you know, you want your way. I want to say Tommy, but anybody, you know, jar chicken that shit, and then also do it for this channel and then for Ben because people want to know where Ben is. Side note, Ben's info is in the description, so quick click there. But I think we got to get the real rollout from the man himself. So thank you for watching this episode of Conversations with Ben Magaziner, and we're going to take it over to Ben to take us away.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. Shout out everybody in the chat. Shout out Reverse Joseph. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button, click the bell, make the dream real for Dustin. Look at this guy. We fucking love him. Jars in the chat. Everything's been done. Tune in every Thursday. We love it. Hashtag jar chicken. Guys, I want to see those F's in the chat before we're on our way out of here. You can find me on Instagram at bmagaziner. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stop going outside or do go outside. I have no idea what anybody should do anyway. But I do love you, and I hope all of you are safe and your families are safe. And take care. There's those F's. Bring those F's.
My clothes on. Yeah.